I cannot believe the Bills actually lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 9 of the 2021 NFL season. I can't believe it. I am actually pretty shocked. Like, all aspects, how they lost, the fashion they lost, the way they played in the game, the way Jacksonville played in the game, the officiating in the game, everything. It was not what I was expecting, to say the least. Damn. The Bills had their bye week, then they went home to play Miami, travel to Jacksonville, and then I believe they host the Jets. That was a 4-week span they had, what many were calling a bye month. And, based on how they played against the Dolphins and how the Dolphins have been playing in general, and then, based on how the Jets and the Jaguars combined for, 3 wins? I think there was 4 wins amongst those 3 teams total. I can see it by month. I mean, that's the Bills were like 7-2, staring down the barrel in a really tight AFC. And they've got 4 of the easiest weeks imaginable. And they didn't look great last week. They got the job done. Took care of the Dolphins. But really? You go to Jacksonville to play a terrible team all around the board. They don't have very many good players. They have a dog shit coach. They have a rookie quarterback. You only allow 9 points, which is about what I was expecting. There was no way in hell the Jags were going to score more than 2 touchdowns or more than 20 points. I thought it was going to be 34 to 16, I think was my prediction. And they only scored 9 points. So I guess the defense showed out. The defense played fine. The Jags are terrible. They're the Jags offense sucks. Urban Meyer, I'm a big Ohio State fan. He brought the only professional / just, I guess, the only sports team that I've ever rooted for or watched. He brought the lone championship in my lifetime that I was actually able to see to Ohio State in 2014. So I love him for that, I suppose, but he's been a terrible coach for the Jags. But somehow he was able to coach up a win against the Bills. I don't know, dude. I don't know. This sucked. This sucked. And this honestly changes so many things, because for me, I'm like, all right, the Bills have nothing but mediocre to bad teams outside of the Saints and the Bucks, right? So, and the Colts. So they got 3 real opponents. This was this morning, right before they played this game. And now, the worst team in the league, I would say, is probably the Houston Texans. And then right behind them at this point is the Jags and the Jets. I think that's a fair assessment. And the Bills go out and just lay an absolute egg to a Jags defense that admittedly is not very good. I mean, Josh Allen was great today. The defensive end, he was a beast. I mean, literally, he has to win Defensive Player of the Week, right? Right? I mean, if he didn't, it would be the biggest snub. I don't care if somebody has 2 or 3, 2 interceptions and a pick six. No. Denzel Ward, cool. You got a pick six. That's nice. The Browns beat the shit out of the Bengals. Give Josh Allen the Defensive Player of the Week, not just in the AFC, but in the entire league, because he straight up won them the game. He was all over the backfield. He had a couple tackles for a loss. He had, I think he only had 1 sack, but he had a couple QB hits. He had an interception. I mean, Josh Allen balled out. Other Josh Allen, not so much, right? And, I don't even know what to believe, to be honest, because, the Jags are really not that great of a defense. So, and there weren't particularly a lot of drops or whatever, but for whatever reason, I don't think the Bills, did they ever even get in the red zone? I don't even know. I don't even think they did, right? And this reminds me again of last year, where the Bills had that lull, kind of, I want to say it was around the same point in the season, where they just were struggling. They had a game against the Patriots. They had a game against the Chargers, where they just Their offense didn't really click the way it did at the beginning and at the end. And, you know, also you had that game against the Jets, right? That one sticks out perfectly. Horrible Jets team. Bills didn't score any touchdowns, but they were still able to win, right? Jags, horrible team, didn't score any touchdowns, weren't able to win. And I would say that this, man, I don't know. Is this? Would you say this Jags team is worse or better than last year's Jets team? That's a good question. I would say that this year's Jags team is a little bit better than last year's Jets team. I'll say that because Adam Gase, I mean, they're both terrible coaches, but in the NFL at least. But I'll at least give Urban the slight edge. I'll give this year's Jags team a slight edge. But I mean, shit, dude. What the Jags had 210 total yards of offense. Trevor Lawrence had 120 yards passing. Carlos Hyde had 67 yards rushing. I mean, Josh Allen had 264 yards passing, another 50 on the ground. Did throw 2 interceptions. Did lose a fumble. Should have lost a second fumble. I mean, the Bills made a lot of mistakes. The fact that they only lost this game by 3, I think, is a true testament of how terrible that the Jags are. Because, I mean, they only had 1 turnover. The Bills had 3. Technically 4 if you want to count, you know, a turnover on downs. The Bills only ran the ball, 14 times to 47 passes. And, you know, some people are going to point to that and call that out as an issue. And, you know, I don't know. I think whatever you're successful with, you're successful with. You know, if you want to try and have an equal spread of running and passing, that's cool. But ultimately, there are teams that are going to only throw the ball 14 times and run the ball 47 times that are going to score a lot of points and beat their teams really badly. But on the flip side, you're going to have teams that are going to throw the ball 47 times, run it 14 times, and are going to win, you know, decisively. It just didn't happen this week, and, you know, it's really fucking sad because as much as I said it before, and I still kind of believe it, but I'm starting to I wouldn't say I'm nervous, but it's becoming less, it's looking less and less and less of an absolute. You know, the Bills just lost to the Jags. They're now they're 4-3 against the AFC. They have 3 AFC losses, which is not ideal. But the Patriots are now only a half game back. The Patriots are sitting at 5-4. Bills are at 5-3. And the Patriots, these past few weeks, I mean, they should not be slept on, all right? And I am sleeping on them because Mac Jones is such a, not intimidating quarterback. Their team, to me, is just not intimidating in the slightest. I don't know. I don't fear it. But, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They've had one bad game all year long. Otherwise, they've played good enough to win, every game they've been in, right? They got walked by the Saints in week 3 by 15 points. But, I mean, they lost in overtime to the Cowboys, who I know they got destroyed by the Broncos today, but they're a damn good team. I don't care what anybody says. Barely lost to the Buccaneers on a missed long field goal, right? Then they destroyed the Jets, beat the Chargers, and then they absolutely destroyed the Panthers. They did have a kind of a close win against a bad Texans team. I don't know what the hell happened there, I'll be honest. But I don't know. I was like, the Bills are going to win this division decisively. If there's any team that's within a couple games, I'll be surprised. I do think the Bills will win this game, or win this division. Just because, I don't know. This past week really makes you... Because this past week is going to make you pause for sure. I don't know how it wouldn't. Because, I mean, if you can't beat the Jags, if you lose to the Jags, how can you say you're going to beat the Jets? How can you say that you are going to, guaranteed beat a team like the Panthers? A team that is just as good, if not better. Because there is not a team that is worse than the Jags. Certainly not a team that is worse than the Jags on the Bills' schedule. So there are no guarantees. But, I mean, come on. This is the Buffalo Bills, the same team that won 13 games last year, went to the AFC Championship, right? absolutely took care of business against these bad teams earlier on in the season. Beat the shit out of the Washington football team, out of the Dolphins the first time they played, out of the Texans, roughed up the Chiefs. Like, this is a good team, a very good team. This team is better than all but pretty much one team on their schedule, like, definitively. Like, seriously. They're better than everybody else except for probably the Bucs. But, I mean, any given Sunday, I guess, but this shit's concerning, man. And I mean, shit. Shout out to the Patriots. They've had a tough schedule. They had to play the Chargers. They had to play the Cowboys. They had to play the Bucs. They had to play the Saints. And then they got the Browns coming up. And they got to play the Titans as well. The Bills' schedule is much, much easier, in my opinion. But the Patriots, I don't fear them. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I really don't, just because, I mean, come on, Mac Jones, what are they like? Mac Jones isn't going to do anything. He's going to throw checkdowns. He's going to throw drag routes. This is the same team that's going to, on 3rd and 20 from the opposition's 40, they're going to run a draw play to kick a field goal, right? They're going to try and beat you 19-17. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Their fucking leading receiver is Jacoby Myers. Their leading rusher is Damian Harris. Anyway, this game though, yeah, Jags-Bills. Why did the Bills lose? Penalties were huge, but also I think the biggest reason they lost was because they could not execute on 1st and 2nd down, right? They were constantly putting themselves in 3rd and long situations because mainly they ran the ball very few amount of times. They did not run the ball enough at all. But they would throw the ball either short or just straight up incomplete on 1st and 2nd down entirely too much. Because they would be at 2nd and 12, or they would be at 2nd and 8, or 2nd and 10. And then, a little short pass or a little run or something. And it was just a lot of 3rd downs. There was like no 1st or 2nd down completions, essentially. Like, they picked up their fair share of 1st downs. I mean, Josh Allen had 264 yards passing. He had 31 completions, right? But they could not pick up and move the chains on early downs. And I think that was honestly their biggest downfall. And I think couple that in with the issues they had with penalties. Because the penalties were ridiculous. I mean, where were the penalties at? Because, they had 3 turnovers, and then they also had how many penalty yards? 12 for 118. That's why you lost. No, it's not. Come on, that's not why you lost. Is it? Can you really point to one thing and be like, if that would have went our way, like if they didn't call that penalty? No. Come on, you guys lost to the Jags. You lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You lost to a team that had 218 yards of offense. You lost to a team that put up 9 points. I don't care what anybody says about a false start or something. Like, 6-9, 36-9, 46-9, maybe on a bad week 24-9, but 6-9? Are you kidding me? Crazy. And I should be concerned because that top seed is looking less and less likely. However, the AFC is kind of crazy right now. The Titans are beating the shit out of the Rams. But if the Titans lose tonight against the Rams, the Bills would still, they wouldn't have the tiebreaker, but they'd still essentially have the best record, tied with the best record in the AFC. Because every team in the AFC would have at least 3 losses, which is kind of crazy to think in Week 9 that 14-3 would be the best possible outcome this early in the season. Kind of wild, but I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. Next week's got to be a bounce back, right? I mean, because they didn't look so great last week. And they looked terrible this week. So maybe if they look really bad next week, then that's when you really kind of have a cause for concern. Because, I mean, they were rumbling there. Washington, Houston, Chiefs, Titans. Say what you want about the Titans game, but, I mean, Josh Allen balled out, right? But these last 2 weeks, Steelers and Dolphins were kind of rough for the Bills' offense. Dolphins, Jags looking just about as rough, except losing to the Steelers. We got clowned for losing to the Steelers. All right, this time we lost to the fucking Jags. So Josh Allen lost to Trevor Lawrence in his rookie season. Ouch. That hurts. Anyway, I don't know. I think the Bills should rout the Jets on the road. Mike White, whatever. But ultimately, you never fucking know, because any given Sunday, clearly, this far into the season, is kind of the mantra we got to rock with, because I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. No touchdowns. No touchdowns today. I don't know. The smart man in me thinks the Bills should beat the Jets, 26-11, or 38-20, or 35-0, like they have the weaker opponents that they've placed earlier. But, I mean, what's to say that this shit doesn't happen again? I don't know. Because, last year we had the bump in the road, right? But we were past that. We moved past that. This year we had the bump in the road. Early on. We moved past that. And then we had a little bit of another bump in the road. Didn't move past that. Because we had that game against the Cardinals last year, right? But from that point on, we were against good teams, too. We played some good teams in that stretch. Because we had the bump in the road this year, and we're like, okay, we don't have to play the 49ers. We don't have to play the 11-0 or 11-1 Steelers, right? We get to play the Dolphins, the 1-6 Dolphins, and the 1-6 Jags, and then the 2-7 Jets. I don't know. Trippy Red said it. Life's a trip, and I'm gonna quote him by saying, "NFL's a trip," because you never know what the fuck you're gonna get. I don't know. I think the Bills are gonna take care of business against the Jets next week. I do. I am a strong believer in that, but I don't know. It could get crazy. I don't know. I think the Bills are going to trounce them. I think they're going to bounce back. But you never know.